Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Bracha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And back with some more headlines here, as things are continuing to drift for the worse. So starting off, we have this is it shouldn't come as a shock with how bad the economy is doing, but there's so many other things that are also troubling people that, it's almost like you hear one thing and it just, it goes in one ear, comes out the other, because the next thing is following right behind it, right? But the economy is doing really bad, right? People already, forecasting the recession that is going to deepen more and more as time goes on. And so, starting off, it says here, 1 in 3 American men no longer working. And what that means is they're no longer in the workforce, right? And as we're going to go on to read, it says that they're either, unemployed, laid off, or not seeking employment. All right, that's 1 in 3, 1/3 of American men. It says the number of American men participating in the workforce has fallen to one of its lowest levels in nearly 2 decades. According to new federal labor statistics, just 66% of men aged 20 and older were employed or actively seeking work as of April. Then I'm jumping down now. The numbers mean roughly 1 in 3 American men are no longer in the workforce. Okay. And that's not good, right? On the whole, that's not good. But also just even in the dynamic of, men and women and being able to provide and so on, that's not looking too good, right? Now, what's also interesting about this is, let's see, where is it at here? Yeah, it says the downward trend appears ongoing. Male workforce participation fell another full percentage point in April compared with the same period in 2025, according to Labor Department data. Jumping down a bit more, industries that have traditionally employed large numbers of men, including transportation, manufacturing, and other labor-intensive sectors, have shed jobs over the past year. And a part of that is also the high rate of adoption of, machines, right, robots, and using those in warehouses. You'd be surprised. Some of these warehouses, they're using, humanoid robots to do some of the labor over there. Okay. Now it says here, the labor picture for women has followed a different trajectory. That's interesting. Female workforce participation has also declined during the past 2 decades, though the swings have been less dramatic. Women saw only a 2-point decline during the 2008 recession compared to 5-point drop for men. Women's labor force participation has also remained more stable since the pandemic recovery, never falling below 56% since 2022. And a lot of this is also systemic. Okay, it's the way that the system is designed. And it leads, this is also a point of friction between a lot of, men and women, which is jobs, pay, salary, these kinds of things. And I was watching the video. It was a clip the elder Apostle Tahar had re-uploaded on his channel. And I think it was like, nobody wants an old bee or old woman. And in there, there's a woman explaining, basically like, was it like 5 or so things that, from what I remember, it's kind of like things that women should know concerning men. And one of the things she mentioned was men don't give a damn about your master's degree or your doctorate in this or your bachelor's degree or how high your salary. Like they don't really care about that. Like, because men are visual creatures, right? Like that if a dude sees a chick, right, she fine as shit, that's visual. He sees that, he's happy. Okay, damn, that's good shit. I want to talk to that. When you see fine shit, you're not defining fine shit based on what degree she has or how much money she's making. She could, you even see memes about it. You'll see some chick that, most of the time is fake, but it's like a chick that's supposed to be supposedly homeless, but she got that thing on her, open up the bakery in all departments. and she laid on a freaking cardboard box. And you look at the comment section, and you like, you'll understand very quickly that men don't really give a damn about your financial status and all of those, right? It's if a man is desiring you, that's his desire for you. Okay, so with all this going on here, I bring it back to say that you now have cases where if a lot more men are not working, right, it's becoming more difficult for that sort of traditional outlook where men were the breadwinners supporting, and holding things down. So it's no wonder you have a lot of women, though they may not have be facing that same level of decline in terms of women in the workforce. They're expressing a lot more anger and frustration. Now you would think, well, you got your so-called liberation, right? You wanted to be breadwinners, but at what cost? Now you're by yourself, you're lonely, and you're realizing that you're not built for this kind of you're not built for this kind of stress, right? Or strain. And it's taking a toll on them. And what do? They wait, sit in the car quietly, then they press the record button, and then they start crying. Then they got a phone call, they pause the tears, wait till the phone call is over, resume the record, and then continue crying and complaining about how they hate this world and jobs and blah, blah, blah. All right. Now, this is also coming at a time where gas is approaching $5, some places $6. Diesel is also climbing up, and we're going to touch on that as well. Moving on, some news concerning escalations here with NATO and Russia. Right now, as the Russia-Ukraine war continues on, I mean, it's in years now, but as it continues on, Russia is now ramping up their sort of attacks here on Ukraine. And recently, you have this here where NATO is condemning Russia after what they claim is a Russian drone smashing into a Romanian apartment, calling it a grave escalation. All right, now Russia came out and said that, they basically came in and said, look, it says here they denied the allegations, right, and said you don't have any solid proof that this was a Russian, proof that these were Russian drones. All right, and then also mentioning that, several Ukrainian drones have also veered into that airspace in the recent months, right? So how can you just say that it's a Russian drone? But this is all part of the Lord stirring up these nations, right? Waking up the mighty men, prepare war, right? They're preparing because remember, for a long period of time, these nations here, these key nations, and what was feared to be mad, mutually assured destruction, for that very reason, knowing that they each had nuclear capability and they could cause very great destruction, they held off. They entered into peace treaties. They entered into these sort of mutually agreed upon arms race limitation treaties, all of these things. And over the years, the Lord has, basically had them disannul almost every one of them. And all that is in preparation for the war of Armageddon. Next, we have some more here, once again, on the front of escalation between Russia and the West, NATO, U.S., all conglomerately I'm referring to here as the West. So it says Russia warns U.S. against sending thousands more troops near its borders, pushing toward suicidal conflict. And here what they're saying is, look, if you keep on bringing troops to our borders, which we consider a threat, we're going to be forced to retaliate. You're going to force our hand. And you don't want to force our hand because it's gonna escalate. Like, look at what happened with Israel and Iran. One party pushed it a little too far, the other responded, and that's what you call tit for tat. The problem is you don't want tit for tat with nuclear superpowers. Okay, that's the whole concept of mutually assured destruction. But that's part of prophecy, and it's going to play out. It's just a matter of time. Reading a bit here, it says Russia is deeply alarmed about U.S. plans to deploy thousands of additional troops to NATO's eastern flank member Poland, slamming reports out of Washington as unacceptable and portending an escalation in the Ukraine war. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said at a press briefing on Thursday that sending additional American soldiers to Poland would result in escalation of tension across Europe, and that Moscow would be forced to take retaliatory measures. So we're now on the brink of like this multi-regional war. You have the very, very real and looming threat of China invading Taiwan. You have the escalation of Russia and Ukraine with NATO looming right over, damn near ready to get involved. And then you have on the other side of things, Israel and the U.S. and Lebanon and Iran and that whole stuff going on, which has put the world in a chokehold when it comes to, economic turmoil and energy scarcity and all of that bad stuff. So lastly, speaking of the economy, it says here the real part of this economy is not doing well. Ed Dowd warns, just wait till the AI bubble bursts. And right now, this is to imply that there's this bubble that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? What do we know about bubbles? Eventually, they get big enough, thin enough, like a balloon, right? The more air you blow into a balloon, the thinner, right? Because the material stretches and stretches and stretches, and it gets so thin, eventually it bursts. So the concept here is that there's a mass adoption of AI. Everything is AI, AI, AI. But eventually, once, things start to calm down a bit, it's kind of like COVID. During COVID, a lot of jobs, especially in the tech sector, they were just hiring like crazy. And then afterwards, there started to be a lot of layoffs and cuts and so on, having realized, hey, we oversaturated the workforce with just anybody at this point, right? And now it's become very difficult for people to even get back in, right? The markets are very unforgiving, you could say, or just difficult. So you even have what company was it? I forgot what company it was, whether it was Nvidia or some company, and they were basically saying that they can't keep on. They have to start cutting costs when it comes to using AI, as they're spending too much of these tokens, right? And basically what it is you have these companies, they spend millions, sometimes even billions of dollars creating these AI, artificial intelligence models, right? These are basically algorithms that are trained on data. And it takes a lot of GPUs. It takes a lot of, processing power to do. That's why not just anybody can do it. But these companies do it, and then they sell it, right? They sell it through services. Hey, you can use OpenAI's ChatGPT, or I should really say their GPT models, or you can use Anthropic's Claude or Google's Gemini. These are all their AI models they train. And when you use it, you pay for it, right? It's like a pay-as-you-go or some payment plan you have with them. And as you access their model, it sends you responses. You use tokens, okay? And they sort of charge you based on that. So a lot of these companies are saying, hey, like, we're like, this is too expensive. We can't continue to afford this right now. So we got to start cutting costs. So there's this like marginalization of the painful realization that, hey, yeah, it was all fun and games. Everybody was jumping on AI, but looking at it from a non-excited perspective, this is what it really is, right? And if we're being realistic, yeah, we got to like polish this up a bit. We got to cut this down here. We can't do this. We can't do that. And start, looking at it for what it actually is. So reading back to the article, it says Wall Street money manager and financial analyst Ed Dowd of financetechnologies.com warned at the beginning of April that the economy was already rolling over. And we've been saying this for years. This economy is gone. These elites don't have any interest in really upholding this economy because they already have the new version ready to be rolled out. Jumping down to the point. If you thought private credit was a drag on the economy, then the Iran war is going to be a boat anchor. So a drag obviously is going to slow you down. A boat anchor, if you know anything about a boat anchor and how heavy that thing is, once you offload that into the water, it's supposed to basically slow down the boat like drastically because it's very heavy. That's the point of it. Okay, so he's kind of saying if you thought that the private credit was slowing down the economy, then the Iran wars is going to be, much worse, right? It is much worse already. The longer this situation persists, the likelihood of oil drifting higher is going to happen. We have two scenarios, and one is oil peaks out at $125 a barrel, and this gets resolved by May. Inflation would peak around 5%. Okay, maybe you can handle that, manageable. We are at this point now. If this does not get resolved soon, oil prices could continue to drift higher. That means if this purported deal between the US and Iran and all this stuff they're saying, if they don't come to that, Iran says, no, we ain't giving you no nuclear dust, we ain't giving you shit. And the US says, all right, then we ain't signing anything. Then scenario two we have, right? Which is where you get $200 to $250 a barrel. Now, $125. And you're already seeing gas prices hitting $5, diesel hitting $6 and climbing, respective to where you are. $250 is over 100% increase, right? Like $125 plus 100% of that is another $125. Okay. And that's pretty much right on the mark, right? Because you have 125, that's 250. That's a lot. Okay, so if gas right now at $125 per barrel is about maybe $5, give or take, then you're going to be seeing $10 per gallon if it rises up to $250 a barrel, roughly, right? Throwing out some numbers here. It says, which was our worst case scenario. If that happens, inflation will peak out at around 11% by our models. Not good at all. Martin Armstrong said 2 weeks ago that gasoline prices could go up to $9 a gallon. Dowd agrees with Armstrong and says you might get $10 a gallon gas in worst case scenario. If you hit $10 a gallon, listen, one, you're not going to have gas for much longer. Two, just go buy a bike, okay, and start working on your calves and your leg muscles as you ride the bike, because you ain't driving nowhere. Okay, what they're gonna start to do is they're gonna start to prioritize, okay, where are the most important places that we need to make sure have this energy, and everybody else, well, you need to sacrifice, right? We need to have rations, might even have rolling blackouts, right? It's part of it. It says here, I see oil going a lot higher, which will cause a tremendous amount of demand destruction and a recession that I think is coming anyway. Okay, and then it goes on more and more and more. But as you can see here, once again, with all these different headlines that I showed on here, none of them are really signaling peace. None of them are signaling a good time. They're all signaling harsh and difficult times. And that is the theme. That's the setting when you read in 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. It mentions for lack of bread and for great tribulation. These are definitely troubling times. And you're going to start seeing more and more people on social media complaining about it. Oh, I'm irritated. I can't do this. Gas is $5 a gallon. This is that. It's hot. And you're going to see more and more of that. And that frustration builds up quickly, and it starts to, it's contagious. The more people see it, the more they feel it. Now, this is Proverbs chapter 1, verse 27. It says, when your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. So now, applying that to our case, in our situation, the world we live in now, it's going to get very, very bad, because these people they don't fear God, right? A lot of these people have probably gone years without even thinking about praying a day in their life. Can you imagine that? So for the scriptures to say what it says here, to where these ungodly and faithless people, this ungodly generation is going to try to seek the Lord, they got to be desperate. That shows how bad, how trying, how painful, and as it mentions, distress and anguish, how much of that is going to be upon these people, to where they're going to resort even onto crying onto the Lord, seeking some divine power. They're going to go to the universe. They're going to go try looking for Allah, Jesus, Buddha, whoever will answer them. But there's only one true living God, and he will not answer you. because you didn't keep the word of his patience. You didn't listen when he called. You didn't serve him. So he has no obligation to come to your aid. In fact, it's not even just that he's just sitting there while things are happening to you and he's not helping. He's doing the opposite. In fact, he's causing these things to happen to you. And you don't want to be on the receiving end of that. Hebrews 10:31. It's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and informative to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rachakudash. Until next time, Shalom.